So, the day is finally here. We never thought this day would come, honestly. I didn't think so, and I'm the Shadow Paladin lover. Never was a fan of Luard, but the day has come. They're back. Maybe better than ever. I don't know, I haven't seen the skill, but let's get this over with. What's up, everybody? Vanguard 1 here, and welcome back to another VR review episode. Now, we're on our final VR for the set Phantom Dragon Aeon. About to move on to the next set, which I think is the Lambros set. But let's not get too into it. Let's focus on the main course we have today, which is Luard. Now, Luard is a fan favorite among Shadow Paladin players. Not even Shadow Paladin players in general, but also G players. Luard was one of the most powerful decks in the G format, with the grade 1 spam and the ritual keyword and Morfessa, Dragdriver, Dragstrider. It was just an all-around very powerful deck, and probably the least Shadow Paladin deck that was ever brought to Vanguard. But now we have it today back here in Standard, and without further ado, let's get into the skills, shall we? Dragheart Luard. Act on Vanguard once per turn, cost, retire 2 grade 1 rear guards, draw a card, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards. No, you choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. So off the bat, just completely different from what we've been doing. We're finally choosing the opponent's rear guards this time instead of just being passed, being like, nah, you can do it yourself. His second skill, act on Vanguard once per turn. This ability's cost is reduced by Counterblast 1. So there's a Counterblast skill, and it's reduced by 1 for each grade 1 in our drop zone. So this could potentially be free. Cost, Counterblast 3, return 2 normal units from your drop zone to your deck, and search your deck for up to 1 Dragdriver Luard, write it as stand, and shuffle your deck. At the end of your turn, write a Dragheart Luard from your soul as rest. So this is like a weird twist on what I like to call Pseudo Stride. Because with Gear Chronicle, yes, you have the whole discard cards that equal grade 3 or greater, and ride from deck. This is sort of like it, instead just like, it's a free counterblast if it all goes well, and you return units to the deck. This is easily just a setup card, but what really leaves me curious about the skill is that it doesn't say retire the card you wrote. It doesn't say retire Dragdriver, because with Gear Chronicle, you would always retire what you wrote and just ride your main Vanguard as rest and get the force marker. This is like that, except Dragdriver stays in your soul. So maybe what you could do is, when you ride Luard, use its skill, ride Dragdriver? Yeah, Dragdriver. At the end of turn, ride it, and Dragdriver is in soul. Next turn, use a Soul Blast, get Dragdriver back into your drop zone, use his skill again to ride again, return it. So this is basically just better Gear Chronicle. This is the Gear Chronicle mechanic, but better. So yeah, Luard is easily just a setup card, so which is weird for the VR. So I mean, I guess let's get into Dragdriver, because we're also going to be looking at Dragdriver today. This will be a short video if we just did Dragheart. Let's take a look at Dragdriver. Let's see if the writing is worth it. Continuous on Vanguard during your turn. This unit gets plus 5,000 power for each of your grade 1 rear guards. Not bad. If you have 2 or more grade 3 cards in your soul, the original critical of all your grade 1 rear guards becomes 2. So with Dragheart striding, you basically ride into something next turn, most optimal being Dragdriver, then have the critical of all your units become 2, which is great pressure. But it is only the grade 1 rear guard, so not awful, but I'm sure just like Claire, this will be a grade 1 spamming deck, just on the same way. Then auto on Vanguard when placed, cost, Counterblast 1, search your deck for the number of cards in your soul with Luard in their card names, plus 1 grade. When placed, cost, Counterblast 1, search your deck for the number of cards in your soul with Luard in the card names, plus 1 grade 1 cards. Call in the rear guard and shuffle your deck. So, sorry if that got a little confusing. What it's basically saying is you Counterblast 1, and for every Luard card in your soul, every card in your soul with the Luard name, you would add grade 1s from your deck plus 1. So let's say you had 2 Dragheart Luards. You would add 2 grade 1s, and a third one since it says plus 1, counting the name. So that doesn't seem bad, but we can obviously tell this is going to be a very grade 1 spammy deck. When Morfessa, I believe, counts as a grade 1 while in deck is her skill. So she will be searchable via the skill but for the whole critical thing, I'm not sure about that. And we just might have to see. Now, this still does seem like a very Force 1 deck. Shadow Paladins, I think, will forever be a Force 1 deck, unless you're doing Claret, but even then, you can maybe do Force 1, just run 12 crit, you'd be fine. But this isn't Claret, this is Luard. I think this is a very interesting strategy. Do I think will this be powerful? Maybe. We have seen a bunch of the grade 1 cards for Luard support be dropped here and there, so the grade 1s do seem pretty nice to have. What I'm afraid of mainly is running too many grade 1s for the deck to be optimal. Unless we get some more cards that'll deal with acting as grade 1 whether on field or in the deck like Morfessa does right now, I think the ratios for the cards will be unbalanced, and we'll run into problems we have with Claret where we had some writing issues. They weren't like huge writing issues, like you never had too much trouble into writing what you needed, but it always happened at like the most inconvenient times for players that you would get too many grade 1s, or you just never see Claret, and you would be stuck on what you have and just be done for. So I think this would be another interesting option for people who want to play Shadow Paladin but don't want to play Mordred or PBO or Claret. I'm sure Claret's actually gonna be really fine now because of its new promo, but until that actually comes out, Claret's just gonna be an ass deck, really. I'm not saying I'm not excited, but this is definitely a very interesting skill. Well, let's see how these cards compare to the original G versions. Dragheart Luard G. Auto on Vanguard Ritual 3. Active if there are 3 or more grade 1 cards in your drop zone. I believe this is like one of the first keywords that came to the game that really mattered. Choose 2 normal units from your drop zone and put them at the bottom of your deck in any order. At the beginning of your ride phase, you may pay the cost. If you do, until end of turn, you may stride without paying the cost next time you would stride. So yeah, they basically took the whole stride scale where you put 2 normal units, throw them into the deck, and stride. This is basically what Luard does now. It costs Counterblast 3, or if you have more grade 1s in your drop zone, Counterblast practically nothing. Throw them in there and stride. It's basically a carbon copy of the skill, which I actually kind of like. Auto on Vanguard costs Counterblast 1, and choose one of your rear guards and retire it. During your turn, when your unit stride, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck from 2 grade 1 or less cards, call on the separate rear guards, and shuffle your deck. So it doesn't exactly copy that skill. I think that's more for more Dragdrivers doing. So they basically just took the stride scale and used Luard as setup, while Dragdriver is not necessarily a finisher, but it's just the better card you want to go into. What's even good is it's not a grade 4. Dragdriver is still a grade 3, so you just normal ride into it, so you're not stuck on grade 3. That was one of my biggest fears, because we got Dragdriver as a grade 4 and we had the Sweeto stride skill. If you got stuck with no grade 3s, you were kind of fucked. But now, since Dragdriver is grade 3, even if you don't open up with the Dragheart Luard, Dragdriver is a nice second to go into. Speaking of Dragdriver Luard, let's take a look into the Stride Dragdriver Luard skill. Stride step, of course, the whole discard grade 3. Auto on Vanguard Ritual 3. Active if there are 3 more grade 1 cards in your drop zone. Soul Blast 1 and choose a card from your G zone and turn it face up. When this unit is placed on Vanguard, you may pay the cost. If you do, search your deck for the same number of grade 1 cards as the number of face-up cards named Dragdriver Luard in your G zone and call them to separate rear guards. Shuffle your deck, and those units get plus 1000 power for each grade 1 in your drop zone until the end of turn. So it's not exactly like what standard Dragdriver does now. So instead of giving it power, it basically gives plus crit, and it gives power to itself for each of its grade 1 rear guards. But it does keep sort of the same search skill, instead of just like how many Luard cards in your soul, instead of how many Luard Dragdrivers are in your G zone. I don't think this will be bad. This is very interesting. Like I said with PBO, this is making me think more, because this doesn't have an obvious use. I think, will it be useful? Yes, but I think this will require Shadow Paladin players do a lot more thinking. And who knows, even this deck does end up being bad, because we won't know until the actual set comes out and we start seeing physical play. Well, as much physical play as we can get with whole Corona going on. I think this will be a very interesting deck, and I think it's just nice to give people the other option, because Claret was looked at as the other Shadow Paladin option if you do want to play Mordred or Blaster Dragons, but Claret just sucked. It sucks a little less now, it's a bit more consistent, but it still sucks pretty bad. Well, let me know what you think of these cards in the comments below, and shout out to all my Luard fans who are currently watching this video. I know a friend of mine who's getting a case split of this set, and is very happily donating all the Luard stuff to me. Don't forget to like this video. When you like this video, don't forget to subscribe as well. When you subscribe, you have the option to press that notification bell. The notification bell lets you get notified every time I upload a video. Until then, I'll see you in the next set. Bye bye.